Hello everybody, welcome to another rapid speedrun game against the Scandinavian, the Sun Kid, rated 1000. Well, let's develop for free since this guy doesn't want to learn a real opening. A little harsh? Nope. Why is your queen out? I'll move 2. Move 2. Ooh, and then doesn't even follow it up with queen I5. This is terrible. Terrible. See what you did, Mr. Bartholomew? You get all these Sun Kids to play your opening and they don't even know it. That queen a5 is the move. What? So now his queen's just going to give us tons of free tempos. Tempi. Terrible stuff. And we have 3 pieces out on our castle. I mean, we're just winning. So that's why if you play terrible openings, you have to play them accurately in order for them to even be playable. See? So if you make a mistake in a terrible opening, you just lose. If you make a mistake in a good opening, you might then be worse, but you can still play on. In this case, he's going for the fianchetto. Let's get a rook on e1, free development. We're now threatening to win the queen as early as move 8. Why? He brought it out on move 2. Knights before bishops. By that logical sequence, knights before bishops. Guess what? Knights and bishops before queens, right? That would make sense. It would even make sense to assume by the order of the strength of the pieces that knights before bishops, bishops before rooks, and rooks before queens. Now in practice, you often move your queen even before your rooks to connect them. But that's only because the queen can operate regardless of the open files. And usually open files don't come till later in the game. But if there are immediately open files, you can see the rooks moving first. Anyway, he goes here blocking the discovered check, but the queen is still in the line of fire. So we could still move the bishop somewhere, right? And where does the queen go? Let's say it just goes anywhere. We're only threatening trades, so it's not the end of the world. We can keep it in our pocket. So in that case, let's just play d4 and wait for a better opportunity for the discovery. Our position's overwhelming already. We have better lead and development, safer king, better pieces, better pawns, better center, better queen. I mean, everything's just better. And what's he gonna do? We even have ideas of d5. That's why in the Scandinavian, you'll see c6 pawn and e6 pawn clamping down. Here he doesn't have anything clamping down, just pieces ready to be kicked around. So he casually fianchettos, but is that the right thing to do? I don't know. I'm going to throw in d5. Attack the queen for free. Gain space, prevent his knight from developing. See where he goes. He stays in the center. So now he's subject to different types of tempi. Fine. If we go here, we have this tactic if he takes the pawn. The knight's defended. It's interesting. Otherwise, we can try to support this with something like g3. Or queen d4, knight h5. That's unnecessary. Okay, we have a lot of moves, but I'm just thinking. You can do so many different things. Okay, well. Okay, I'm going to go with the g3 idea. It may seem weird, but I just want a support point for this because it coordinates with a potential knight attack. It bullies the queen, looks at the center, takes control over that square so my knight can hop in. I don't know. Kind of like it. Gives my king some space if I ever need to improve it. Lift it up one. It does let him try to, come in, but I can always just drop back. He castles. Now I'm going to get in my free developing move that I wanted. More free development against his queen. Notice. Okay, so he goes to the most normal square with attacks on pawns. We don't care necessarily because after rook b1, you might have activity, but your knight might be loose, so you got to be careful. Our position's so good. So what do we want to do? You could just play rook b1. I mean, it covers this, it gets it out of this. It just solves lots of issues. Let's do that. X-rays the queen. One move of prophylaxis, and now we can go along with our plan. He now plays c6, attacking this pawn, which is well defended. If you push past, it's weird. I kind of want to improve my pieces. This knight into the center, hitting stuff. Maybe he comes here. Although it's not actually hitting a rook, I might just leave it there for now and potentially keep my bishop on f3 so he can't trade it instead of g2 because it's strong. So he takes the pawn. Now, I could grab his bishop. It does help his knight develop, but... Oops. Source. Inspect source. But it's a potentially good bishop, and if I have the only one, mine can be super strong. So I'm going to take it. Okay, he takes back. Now, we can get our pawn back in the center. Let's do that. And then we can go bishop f3 and have these beautiful bishops slicing through the... Wait, he just hung a knight, right? No, he took a knight. He didn't hang a knight. But he will hang a knight if he goes for this pawn. Not to mention that that's a terrible pawn to take because the queen's behind it. So even if his knight wasn't hanging, something like bishop here, adding pressure, you don't want to pin yourself. So material's even, but this does not look fun for him. The second I move my bishop, it attacks this and this, double attack. So he defends. This doesn't work. I say we move this, and these bishops are strong. When he moves his knight to attack our queen, we just pick up the pawn. With a winning endgame, up material and the bishop pair. So he might want to try to take one of our bishops, for example, trade his dark for our dark. That way we don't have the bishop pair anymore. He might also just defend this pawn, but then he hangs the rook, so you can't. So he tries to discover in a way that blocks our bishop or something, but this also is hanging. Super weird. So his idea is to take this with check. So if you just move the queen somewhere, well, I guess that defends it. I picked the wrong square, but I say we just take the pawn, right? And if he takes our queen, we take with the bishop and get it out of the way. And his knight's still hanging. So this is a little clever, but doesn't work. He gives the check. We take back. We're just up a pawn. And we're threatening this. So this is good for us. We could have gotten more earlier with our lead in development, but it's okay. He goes and takes, which you should not do, because now we can add pressure to the bishop. How? This move, this move. Is there a difference? Probably not. I'll just choose this one then. Yeah, I don't think there was, but who knows? Because now if he wants to defend it, he has to move rook behind it, but that, although that's the difference. There you go. This one covers that square. This one does not cover that square. So if I went here and you put a rook behind it, I mean, I could still take it because the queen's in front. So yeah, he kind of just loses either way. So he made it easy, but why would you take that pawn, right? You definitely don't want to take this pawn. The only scenario you would take it is if instead of a rook on b1, I had my queen on b1. And then you take with the queen, just trading queens being up a pawn. But don't do it when there's a rook here, and then you pin yourself. That doesn't make sense. So now he's stumped. He simply develops, but now we get a piece. You know what? I'm going to take with the bishop to keep the discoveries and keep my rooks connected. Meanwhile, he goes pawn hunting. Probably not the best course of action. We're the only ones with a dark square bishop. Maybe we can get a dark square mate at some point. For the time being, he is threatening our bishop. So, also keep in mind there's some coordination here. So I'm going to move my bishop out of the attack, hit his queen, and double attack this. So it's a discovery double threat. He ignores me and goes for this, which loses on the spot to rook takes queen. I don't know if he saw his queen was hanging and just thought this was perpetual or something. More likely he did not see that this discovery hit his queen. And now he loses the game. So we don't have to do anything. We can just take free material. He'll take here and we'll just take the rooks. He'll be left with no army and we'll have 7 points or 8 points of extra material. So he doesn't go for it because what's the point? We can kind of force him though if we get this. And well, this is a checkmate. We don't even need the queen. So check. There. Yeah, we have 2 different checkmates. This is covered though. Even if he takes, he gets mated, so he has to make room with the h-pawn. But then you can still mate him by going to h8. So he takes, but we're just going to throw in the checkmate because it's better than not throwing it in. Okay, let's go through the game. Scandinavian. We take. We have 94% with a 27 cent a pawn loss. He takes, we develop for free. Development for free, king safety, force move. Not for free, but development forced. Developing for free, center. White's already +1. Don't do this as black. King safety, future development. Development, center, x-ray. Okay, center, development. White's just crushing. And okay, you don't need to include this, but gaining space for free. And again, this was another weird move you don't have to do, but the point was obvious. Trying to improve my position. Give my king some lift for the endgame anyway. You have to make room somehow or another. Okay, developing for free. Okay. Kind of developing a piece, prophylaxis, just cutting out any potential counterplay that he might have. Okay, improving a piece, let's say for free because bishops are stronger. Free stuff. Force move. Force move. And okay, we gave up most of our advantage. I mean, white's still better. But like I mentioned in the game, you could have gotten more from your lead in development if you played more energetically, more precisely, less trades, stuff like that. You didn't, if you didn't spend time doing slow moves like Rook B1 or G3, you could have had better advantage. But it's also fine to do it this way because he would have to play perfect to just not lose this because your bishops are just going to have too much queenside pressure. Kind of like in the Catalan, he should eventually just slowly lose. In any case, we just improve a piece for free. Okay, he goes this way. He also could have gone this way to defend. That's true. We take free stuff. Force move. And this was a blunder by him, and now it's +4. We immediately apply pressure. Free stuff. Improving our position for free. Free stuff. Okay, they call this a blunder. It's not a blunder. They're just saying I could have thrown in this check and gone towards check and maybe some sequence or whatever, but I mean, who cares? It's +7 with my move, and I checkmate him anyway in like 2 more moves. So we create a mating net. He gets checkmated. So that's where we get our 94% from. But yeah, you probably could have played more accurately, like around here. If we turn on the engine. Yeah, knight g5 just keeps a huge advantage. So if he goes, let's say queen b6, we connect with bishop c4, e6, let's say to close things down, queen f3, and they're saying this is just +4. That's huge evaluation for... I wouldn't have guessed that. I mean, white's obviously a lot better, but +4 is crazy. I guess because he's not castled, I don't know, you have weird ideas in the future. But I still don't see a +4, but this is all supercomputer stuff. Or if you already studied the position ahead of time, if you just play natural moves, you don't need to keep this crazy advantage. You can just build up your position like we did and just nurse a small advantage. So even though this guy played terribly, we didn't take advantage of it maximally, but he still ended up losing and we were never in trouble. And that's the point. If your opponent doesn't put you to the test, you just have an easy game. Doesn't matter if you're an engine, you get a pleasant, easy game. That's the goal. Good luck in your chess. See you in the next one.